You? Are you home already? After coming home from our daughter Regina's wedding, expecting to see my husband Rodney, who had left earlier. Oh? Someone's here, Rodney. I instead heard an unfamiliar young woman's voice saying, "Who are you? Why are you intruding in someone else's home?" That's my line. Why is an old woman barging into someone else's home? This is called trespassing. The woman showed no signs of remorse, and instead accused me of being the intruder. Then, Rodney appeared from the bathroom, wrapped in a bathrobe. "So, you're back already?" Rodney glared at me as if I were an unwelcome sight. "What's going on? Why is there a woman I don't know in this house? I'm going to be Rodney's wife soon. You're in the way, old woman, so get out." I couldn't process what the woman was saying, and I looked to Rodney for some explanation. "That's how it is. Her name is Anastasia, and she's a subordinate at my company. We've decided to get married soon, so I want you to leave this house immediately." Rodney said it nonchalantly, without a hint of emotion. "I don't want to. Do you have any idea how much I've done for you all these years? This house is mine. I earned every bit of this land and property. You have no right to refuse." That's right, Rodney. It's so manly of you to say it so clearly. Now, old woman, pack your things and leave this house immediately. Humiliated by Rodney and Anastasia's mocking laughter, I felt like crying but realized I no longer had a place here, seeing them holding hands right in front of me. I put the already filled-out divorce papers in my bag and left the familiar house, walking weakly through the pouring rain. My name is Margaret, 52 years old. I have been a housewife, supporting my hard-working husband Rodney and raising our only daughter Regina. Regina graduated from college and started working at a trading company, but she struggled to find a good match, often saying, "Maybe I just have bad luck with love." Recently, however, she was recognized by a young entrepreneur from a client company and got engaged, which was a great relief for me. I was looking forward to enjoying a peaceful retirement with my husband. But, "Hey Margaret, is dinner ready yet? I'm hungry after work. Don't make excuses about my return time. A good wife should always have food ready, no matter when her husband comes home. This rice is too hard. How many times do I have to tell you I like it softer? Adjust the water amount and cook it again from the start. Can't you at least have the bathtub ready before I get home? You're a housewife, you have all day to get things ready. Do you know who's providing for you every day?" Rodney always bombarded me with his old-fashioned patriarchal demands. However, given his position as a sales manager at a major company, Rodney's salary was good, and thanks to that, our family never lacked anything, so I couldn't strongly argue back. But Rodney isn't my only source of concern. One day, I noticed a significant amount of money being withdrawn from our joint family account every month, and I suspiciously asked Rodney about it. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to worry you unnecessarily, so I kept quiet, but actually, Kelly, who's moved back home, has been asking for money desperately." Rodney responded with a troubled look and a sigh. His sister Kelly had been married before, but due to difficulties with her in-laws, she divorced after just a few years and moved back home. From a young age, she had taken care of Rodney in place of their busy, working parents. Even Rodney, who usually maintained a patriarchal stance, couldn't resist Kelly in front of me. Kelly has always been troublesome. She's been careless with money for as long as I can remember. If she wants something, she buys it without thinking about the consequences, which leaves her perpetually broke. I think her spending habits were probably the cause of her divorce. She takes advantage of my position as a department head at a prestigious company and constantly relies on me. I wholeheartedly agreed with Rodney's assessment. Kelly thought Rodney was nothing more than a convenient wallet to her. Even when we went to family gatherings at our parents' house, Kelly always relied on Rodney, yet whenever our eyes met, she would just smile without even saying thank you. On the way home, I mentioned this to Rodney, who was gripping the steering wheel, and he chuckled wryly. Kelly's lack of manners isn't new. But yeah, it's pretty bad she doesn't even thank us. I'll have a word with her about it later. I might be wrong to say this to you, but I really can't stand her. The money we've been giving that person every month was supposed to be saved for Regina's wedding fund. At some point, I had started referring to Kelly as that person, but Rodney never reprimanded me for it. Instead, he empathized with my feelings. If you can't stand Kelly, then you shouldn't have to see her. From now on, I'll go to the family gatherings by myself. You don't have to deal with Kelly anymore. He said this in an unusually gentle tone, making me feel less guilty. Regina, though it might sound biased coming from her mom, seemed to be becoming more beautiful since she got engaged. She had always been incredibly earnest, and even after joining a trading company, while her friends were getting married one after another, Regina focused solely on her career, paying little attention to her personal life. She would jokingly say, "I've married my job," showing no signs of having any men in her life, which as a mom, I had always been worried about. So, when Regina told me she wanted to get married, I was initially in disbelief, thinking, is this a joke? And when I heard more, I learned her fiancé had started his own company in his 20s and had become a top executive in a leading job-matching service firm. Are you sure you'll be okay marrying such an ideal man? I couldn't help but think of Rodney's patriarchy and asked Regina. Regina laughed. It'll be fine. Unlike Dad, he's proactive with cooking and cleaning. We've promised to tackle everything together. When her fiancé, Taylor, came to our house to introduce himself, he was so humble and consistent from start to finish, even bowing deeply while asking, "Please let me marry Regina." Rodney, perhaps due to his title as a senior manager at a prestigious company, seemed to feel a strange sense of rivalry and asked condescendingly, "How's your company doing?" But Taylor remained unfazed. I would love to have a good relationship with you, Rodney, both personally and professionally. Hearing that, Rodney, known for his stern demeanor, couldn't find a reason to refuse and surprisingly bowed his head with a big smile. Our daughter might not be the best mannered, but please take care of her. Regina, whispering with a laugh, said, I hope this will soften Dad's character a bit. I chuckled along, saying, I hope so too. However, as Regina's wedding drew closer, Rodney's attitude towards me grew increasingly cold. Why didn't you iron my shirt? Look at this dress shirt. It's all wrinkled. I'll be laughed at by the clients. I prepared another shirt like usual. Isn't that good enough? Today's client isn't just any client. They are an important customer who will decide the future of our company. I can't just wear an ordinary shirt for this. Then you should have told me that yesterday. It's hard for me to manage on such short notice. Feeling infuriated by Rodney's one-sided accusation, I retorted sharply. Who do you think you are? You can't even iron a shirt properly. And you call yourself my wife? If you were a proper wife, you'd know what shirt I need to wear without me having to tell you. That's impossible to expect from anyone. Holding back my tears, I quickly started ironing the shirt. Here, it's done. Is this good enough? Even after I handed over the shirt, Rodney didn't express any gratitude. Hurry up! If I'm late because of you, how will you take responsibility? He scolded me further and stormed out, slamming the front door in anger. What is with that attitude? He can't even say thank you. He's no different from Kelly. I vented my frustration at the now empty front door. Rodney's harshness towards me didn't stop there. Why are you eating? You've been gaining weight lately. From now on, you should eat only one meal a day and spend the rest of your time cooking delicious meals for me. The master is home. Hurry and massage my shoulders. Do you need to be told every single time? You worthless thing. There are plenty of replacements for you out there. Do you want to leave? He seemed to think of me as some kind of obedient household robot. He is a well-paid elite and looks down on me, a long-time housewife, thinking I can't do anything if I were to go back into society. Ironically, it was Rodney who told me to quit my job and devote myself to him when we got married. I found fulfillment in my work and enjoyed customer service, but I gave it up for Rodney's sake. Now, to be told condescendingly, "You're just a housewife who doesn't even work," infuriates me. If I could, then make your own meals. I would have told him right then and there. Rodney then threw the meal I painstakingly prepared onto the floor. Pick it up. What's with that look? If you have complaints, you can leave this house right now. No, nothing. I'm sorry. I'll clean it up immediately. I had no choice but to suppress my anger and apologize through tears. Amidst such daily life, our daughter Regina, who was about to get married the next day, visited us, wanting to spend time with the family. Excited, I prepared a special meal from the morning, and Regina happily said, "Mom, your cooking is the best." But Rodney just scoffed and remained sullen. What's wrong, Dad? You've been grumpy all day. Are you sad because I'm getting married soon? Regina teased him, but Rodney didn't respond to that. Hey, Margaret, coffee, he ordered. Still the same patriarchy. Mom might just run away one day, you know. If she wants to leave, let her. She has no job. She'll come crawling back for money soon enough. Good grief. You haven't gotten any kinder. In fact, it seems like your condition is getting worse, Regina said with a look of exasperation, and I smiled wryly, trying to soothe her with, "It's always like this." The doorbell rang, and Regina said, "I'll get it," heading to the door. When she returned, she had a small, rectangular box in her hand. The sender's name is Anastasia. Do you know her, Dad? Rodney immediately stood up and said, "Give it to Dad," trying to snatch the package. But Regina quickly shielded it with her body. What's wrong, Dad? Why are you in such a hurry? This seems suspicious. Mom, open it. She handed me the box. When I tried to take off the wrapping, Rodney desperately tried to stop me, shouting, "Don't." But Regina's words, "If there's nothing to hide, then it's fine," left him speechless, and he finally gave up resisting. What a bizarre tie. What kind of occasion would this design be appropriate for? Inside the box was an extremely flashy tie, completely unlike something Rodney would wear. Oh, right. I plan to wear that to Regina's wedding tomorrow. I remember now. I asked a coworker to buy it for me. Rodney replied so quickly that it shocked me, and I immediately interjected with, "That doesn't make sense. Who would choose such a flashy tie for a wedding? Really, what kind of taste does this coworker have?" Regina, too, looked at Rodney suspiciously. What's the deal, Dad? Pressing him with, "You're right. It's ridiculous to send such a tie for a wedding. These young folks today have no common sense. I took out my mobile phone and started to call the contact listed as the sender. What are you doing? Stop that. Even if the choice was wrong, they still bought and sent it for you. As your wife, it's only right to thank them, isn't it? Stop it. Don't do something so embarrassing. No, I'll thank them myself since I asked them for it. Rodney forcibly grabbed the phone from my hand. Why are you so flustered? It seems like you're desperately trying to hide something. Are you doubting me? A husband who earns money while you do nothing as a housewife? If you doubt me that much, it must be because you have something to hide. Why would you think that? I just thought your behavior was unusual, and it made me wonder if something was up. You just want to shift your guilt onto me. So, you are hiding something from me, aren't you? If you hate me that much, you can leave right now. Rodney was quick to say, "Get out," at any sign of conflict. I can't help but wonder if it's actually Rodney who doesn't want to be with me. Whatever, but just make sure you two get along until my wedding tomorrow, okay? Regina said, looking back and forth between Rodney and me with a stern expression. The next day's wedding was grand, befitting a prominent businessman. The groom's guests included not just family and relatives, but also many influential figures from the business world, making our side of the family feel quite overwhelmed. The wedding reception was lively, and during the reading of the letter from the bride to her parents. I'll never forget how you stayed up all night to take care of me when I had a seizure as a child, Mom. Even though I was too young to remember it. Regina read, her voice trembling with tears, creating an atmosphere of mixed laughter and tears among the guests. After the wedding reception, as I was about to greet our relatives and associates, Rodney said, "Well then, I'll leave the rest to you." He patted my shoulder and started to leave the venue. Wait a minute. We need to greet the other guests. That's your job. I have something important to do. What's more important than our daughter's wedding? Shut up. It's none of your business. I'm leaving. He spat out the words and rushed out of the venue, despite the guests asking, "Where are you going, and is something wrong?" Now that I think about it, Rodney had been restless throughout the reception, constantly glancing at his watch, even during the most emotional moments. When I worriedly asked, "Do you need to use the bathroom?" he turned sharply and snapped, "It's none of your business." Excuse me, where did Rodney go? Someone from our company would like to greet him. Taylor and the executive standing next to him asked with polite smiles. I'm sorry. My husband has no manners. I could only apologize repeatedly. In the taxi after leaving the venue, I was thinking about Regina's happy face when the driver asked, "Was it a family wedding?" I didn't realize I was grinning from ear to ear until then. It was my daughter's wedding. It's hard to believe how my little girl has grown into such a beautiful bride. Time really flies. Seeing your happy smile makes me feel like I've shared in your joy. Congratulations. The elderly driver smiled at me through the rearview mirror. Looks like a storm is coming. It might start pouring any minute. The driver remarked, but I was too filled with joy from my daughter's wedding to pay much attention. I got off the taxi just before reaching home, handing the driver a bill and cheerfully saying, "Keep the change." Honey? Are you home already? There were signs of someone being home, but Rodney was nowhere to be seen, so I walked inside. Hey, someone just came in, Rodney. I heard a young woman's voice that I didn't recognize. Excuse me, but who are you? And why are you in my house? That's my line. Why did that woman enter someone else's house without permission? This is called trespassing, you know that? The woman didn't look guilty at all. In fact, she called me a complete outsider without hesitation. At that moment, Rodney appeared from the bathroom, wearing a bathrobe. I've never seen you dressed like that before. Do you think you're a Hollywood star or something? Oh, you're back already, Rodney said, glaring at me as if he was looking at something unpleasant. What is going on here? Why is there a woman I don't know acting like she owns this house? Excuse me. I'm going to be Rodney's wife soon. You're in the way, so please leave. I couldn't comprehend what the woman was saying, so I looked at Rodney for help. This is how it is. Her name is Anastasia, and she's my subordinate at work. We decided to get married soon, so I need you to leave this house immediately. Rodney said it nonchalantly, as if it were nothing. When I heard the name Anastasia, I immediately thought, is she the woman with the tie? I promised Anastasia her long ago that after Regina's wedding, I would leave you and live with her. I refuse. Do you think I can just accept that with a simple yes? Do you know how much I have devoted myself to you all these years? This house is mine. You've been lazing around inside from morning till night. While you were enjoying yourself all day, I was out there working hard, running from one client to another. After our daughter gets married, I deserve to enjoy my life more. Anyway, I earned this house, this land, and all the assets with my hard work. You have no right to refuse. Rodney, you're so manly to say it clearly like that. Now that she understands, can the nuisance pack her things and leave this house immediately? Rodney and Anastasia looked at me triumphantly and smirked. But my anger towards my husband was so intense that I couldn't even cry. Still, seeing Rodney and Anastasia holding hands, I realized that there was no place for me in this house anymore. I packed the already filled divorce papers Rodney had given me into my bag and left the home I was so used to living in. When I opened the front door, a fierce rain with strong winds was falling. Having rushed out, I didn't feel like going back to get an umbrella, so I started walking in the rain as if being pelted by a waterfall. The cheerful sounds from the wedding reception 2 hours earlier were drowned out by the sound of rain hitting the asphalt, and I couldn't tell if the droplets on my cheeks were rain or tears. As the unpleasant sound of water gurgling through the storm drain echoed, the 30 years Rodney and I spent together were washed away so easily. Having nowhere to go, I sat on a swing in the downpour, my mind blank. A woman entered the park. Come inside. You'll catch a cold. And offered me an umbrella. Kelly, what happened? It was Kelly, my sister-in-law, who had spoken. How are you doing? That's what I should be asking. Rodney really did something stupid this time. Leave it to me from here on out. Kelly flashed a confident smile. Just as planned. It's time for payback. Encouraging me to stand, she gently took my hand and led me to the back seat of a black sedan waiting outside the park. Margaret, you don't need to cry. I'll protect you. I won't let them have their way. The warmth in her voice was enough to thaw my body and heart, both chilled by the rain. 3 months ago, there was a family gathering. I told Rodney, who was busy with work, I'll go by myself. I had always felt uneasy around my sister-in-law, Kelly, but I thought if I didn't make an appearance once in a while, who knows what kind of rumors might start circulating among the relatives. Rodney tried to stop me, saying, you don't have to go if you don't want to. But I secretly went to the gathering without telling him and met Kelly for the first time in years. The moment she saw my face, Kelly smiled and said, Oh, it's been a while, Margaret. She welcomed me with the warmth of an old friend unexpectedly running into you. Her reaction took me by surprise, but since I had the chance, I decided to ask her how much money she had borrowed from Rodney and if there was any plan for repayment. What? I borrowed money from Rodney? Margaret, I have no idea what you're talking about. Kelly tilted her head as if hearing this for the first time and asked, "Why would you think that?" As we helped out with the gathering and later sipped coffee in the living room, my misunderstanding about Kelly quickly dissolved. It turned out Kelly was a shrewd businesswoman running several companies and wasn't in need of money. When I later asked my son-in-law, Taylor, about her, he said, "If you're talking about the CEO of King Holdings, I know her well. She's been very good to our company since its early days. I owe my current success to her." Kelly was highly respected in her industry. Knowing the truth about Kelly, a new suspicion arose in my mind. Why did Rodney lie about lending Kelly money? Kelly seemed genuinely shocked and said, "He said that? But he told me you disliked me and wanted to keep your distance." We laid bare the truths we each knew. I see. Rodney must have been afraid his lies would be exposed. What is he hiding from us? The real question was where the money Rodney secretly withdrew had gone. Has Rodney been acting differently lately? Like signs of another woman. If you suspect anything, consult me anytime. I can also talk to a lawyer I know. So, 3 months ago, Kelly and I secretly formed an alliance against Rodney. After being kicked out of my house, I stayed at Kelly's that night. The next day, we visited a law firm Kelly frequently used. The firm had several lawyers specializing in divorce and infidelity cases. Kelly proudly introduced me to a lawyer who was quite skilled. Apparently, Kelly had already talked to the lawyer 3 months ago, and the lawyer had hired an investigation firm to look into Rodney's activities. The investigation report has just come in. Over the past 3 months, Rodney has been secretly meeting with his subordinate, Anastasia, at hotels multiple times. There is no doubt about it. We have solid evidence. And that's not all. We traced the money flow and found that right after Rodney withdrew money from his account, he would always buy Anastasia luxury brand items or take her on trips. Listening to the lawyer's report, both Kelly and I felt so ashamed we wanted to cover our ears. Moreover, the money was taken from the family's important account, saved for Regina's wedding. Rodney had taken it without permission and blamed it on Kelly's debts. "I don't even consider him my brother anymore. I'm going to destroy him." Kelly was even more furious than I was. Accompanied by the lawyer, we marched over to Rodney and Anastasia's house. The unexpected pairing of Kelly and me made Rodney try to run away. "Rodney! Don't you dare run away! What on earth is an old man like you doing?" He was yelled at so fiercely by his sister that he reluctantly came back to the living room, presenting the investigation report and the financial details as evidence. "Thanks to my alliance with Kelly, all your misdeeds have been exposed." I confronted them. "You're crazy to bring this up now. You knew I was seeing Anastasia. We weren't hiding our relationship." "That's right. We publicly announced our relationship last night. We have nothing to be ashamed of. With Regina out of the way, we can finally be a happy couple." Listening to their shameless responses. Even though you knew he had a wife and children, continuing a secret relationship is clearly an act of infidelity. This will result in substantial compensation in the divorce trial. Are you prepared for that? The lawyer calmly pursued. Anastasia stood up and grabbed my handbag. "This bag was probably bought by Rodney, wasn't it? You can't do anything without him, old woman. He dumped you!" she screamed while scratching and stomping on the handbag before throwing it out the window. "How could you? That bag was a precious gift from Regina." The bag wasn't bought with Rodney's salary, but was a heartfelt gift from our daughter Regina when she received her first paycheck. By adding vandalism, the compensation you owe in the divorce trial will only increase. It might not end with just a civil case. The lawyer sternly criticized Anastasia's actions. "This has opened my eyes. I have nothing left for Rodney. I've taken care of him long enough. Anastasia, he's all yours now. Goodbye." Leaving those words, I stormed out of the home I had lived in for so many years. After that, Rodney and I officially divorced. That was the right thing to do. That old-fashioned patriarchy is bound to be ignored by everyone soon enough. I'm sure Mom feels much better and relieved now. When I told Regina about Rodney's affair and our divorce, she laughed and agreed with me. The next day, Regina promptly called Rodney and me to their new house. And in front of Rodney's eyes, Regina mercilessly reported the whole truth to her husband, Taylor. "If that's the case, please cancel all business dealings with Rodney's company." "Wait a minute, Taylor. I'm Regina's dad." "Look, Regina, bow your head and persuade Taylor." Regina met my eyes and nodded slowly. "Don't start acting like a dad now. Both Mom and I have decided to cut ties with you forever." She coldly cut off her own father with a calm voice. Having lost a major client due to his own infidelity, Rodney's position at work became precarious, and he began resorting to almost threatening sales tactics in desperation. As a result, complaints started pouring in from many clients. When Taylor came to visit, he prefaced with, "This is just a rumor I heard," before telling me. After that, Rodney was hit with a hefty damages claim from his company and was dismissed for cause. But to me, he was already a stranger, so I just laughed it off, thinking I don't care. Even after divorcing Rodney, I maintained a good relationship with my sister-in-law, Kelly. At one of our subsidiaries, we just lost an office worker and are in a bind. "Margaret, would you be willing to take the job?" She extended a helping hand to me, knowing I was struggling. Occasionally, Rodney would come by my apartment. "Listen to me. Anastasia called me useless garbage just because I'm not a high earner. To her, I was just a money tree. Hey Margaret, don't you think?" He ranted through the intercom in the entrance hall, but I completely ignored his pleas. I already had someone new in mind for marriage. My new partner, a divorcee working in the same office, was very friendly and never bossed anyone around, unlike the patriarchal Rodney. As soon as I moved to a cheap apartment, Anastasia ran off with a younger guy. What am I supposed to do now? Please, just lend me a little money. Feeling increasingly annoyed by Rodney's desperate calls, I contacted the security office to have him removed. As I was taking in the laundry from the balcony, noticing the towering cumulus clouds, I saw Rodney walking away dejectedly. I hope he doesn't get caught in the rain, but I really don't care. Just then, Kelly called, and thoughts of Rodney were quickly pushed aside. Kelly, thank you for the delicious full-course meal the other day. What? This Sunday? No problem. Whether it's golf or shopping, I'm up for it. I answered in an extremely cheerful voice.